Okay, hi. So yeah, I'm JuanJo. I'm going to talk about how we deploy Prometheus using Juju inside Canonical. A bit about me. So I'm working for Canonical as cloud reliability engineer. I work as SRE for Google during 4 years and a half, and I've been contributing to free software since '95 when I created IP aliasing support for Linux. So essentially, the move inside Canonical is to try to deprecate Negios and replace by Prometheus, because to improve the improve black box monitoring, do have some white box monitoring that is not in-house, and by dog fooding all of these, provide this to the community. So to understand how we do this, I'm going to try in 2 minutes to explain what Juju is for those that don't use it. So essentially, it's a service orchestration tool that what it does, it manages by creating and setting up VMs, containers, or metals. And key concept in Juju is that to convert this VM, for example, and make it a NGX service, it has a charm that is essentially a set of scripts that are run in different stages of this VM transformation into becoming an NGX instance. Let's take an example. For example, we want to do a web app deploy. So Juju is it has a central approach, a central agent approach. So we need to deploy a controller. We do this by bootstrapping the environment and say that we want to deploy, for example, 2 units of HA proxy as our front end. We do that by that CLI. And then we would have what is there with all these units. So in this case, we want to deploy MediaWiki app. So we need the front end, the MediaWiki itself, the DB, and some memcache. As you can see there, all of these are running kind of disconnected to each other. So by this time, we would have, for example, here 5 VMs or containers running each units that have been set up by these charms, but they are not connected and served yet. So we need to connect them. In Juju, this is called a relation. So we have relations, specifically what we need to be related, like the front ends to the MediaWiki, and MediaWiki then to the DB and memcache. And there we have a full serving stack. So we could hit HA proxy by default, for example, on port 80 and be able to serve. A bit of glossary-ish, especially regarding service and units. So there we have 4 services, but we have in particular HA proxy that has 2 units. Then the relation happens between services, but the units gets this new information about all the units that have been related to other service to reconfigure themselves. So essentially what the charm does there is it acts on a relation and modifies, for example, etc HAProxy.conf to point to the new set of backends. What we use Prometheus for inside Canonical, essentially we use it for 3 different things. One for infrastructure itself, because we have most great part of the infrastructure is run on physical nodes, not on the cloud. So we use it to monitor these physical nodes, monitor network gear, and some important cloud services. We use it also to monitor OpenStacks, I would say, the internal and some that we have in our customers, and to monitor online service applications. Interesting here is that the last one is the only one where we are actually using application metrics, like developers actually exposing new metrics to be able to have KPIs, for example, from them. And the first 2, we're essentially running either Telegraph, Node Porter, or in some cases CollectD, to provide host level or infrastructure level metrics. How we actually deploy Prometheus? Following what we saw before, that Juju deploy Prometheus will do specifically that, just deploy this Prometheus instance that is essentially standalone. Then we do Juju deploy Telegraph. This Telegraph charm is a particular charm that actually does not allocate a new instance because it's called a subordinate charm. It's kind of a helper charm. When you relate to a service, here we relate Telegraph to each of these services, it actually will get collocated with this main charm and will get indeed running the same unit. Interesting here is that you see that we have a single Telegraph service that has 5 units, and then each of these units has been, each of these main units does get a Telegraph attached to it. But then again, Prometheus is there alone. By doing this add relation, Prometheus to Telegraph, we have Prometheus being aware of all the units of this Telegraph serving and being able to scrape metrics from it. So interesting here is that this this telegraph is kind of a proof that we launch. Okay. So just to mention, all these charms are open source software, of course. We also use Grafana. We are working Grafana on production. We are working on MTail and Alert Manager on production. And there you have a link where I've been uploading some more info. So everyone loves dashboards. This is an example of what we get after we deploy this. And gracias.
Thank you.